So I wanted to talk a little bit about the three of the things that I see some people doing with anxiety that actually makes their anxiety worse, not better. And just sort of to articulate those so people could get a clear idea in their head of what they were and look for ways to avoid doing those three things. So anybody who suffers with anxiety, and I'm sure I don't need to explain this to you if you're watching this video, this sort of overwhelming, intoxicating experience that's often quite almost, it's got an element of being a bit self-abusive really in the way nobody wants to do this to themselves, but it's a horrible feeling to be living with anxiety on a regular basis. And one of the things that I see really commonly is people wanting to just ignore it, wanting to just sort of block it away like it's an overly repetitive noise, like white noise that they just want to shut away from it. And this actually is one of the things that contributes to it getting worse and worse. The inclination to shut it away, to ignore it, to not think about it is really problematic. In fact, there's a load of articles in the Journal of American Psychological Association that talk about how when they measured the intensity and the frequency of the overly intrusive thoughts, they go up when we try to ignore them, not go down. So trying to ignore the anxiety is not a good thing to do particularly. That's not always desirable to engage with it because it's horrible, but actually it's more successful to engage with it than it is to ignore it. So the second thing that I think people often do is they ignore other people. Because anxiety is so overwhelming on the inside, it creates this sort of automatic barrier between us and our loved ones, or us and the people who might be able to offer us a bit of respite or a bit of humour or a bit of a cuddle or a bit of compassion in the middle of all this going on. And that's also a really difficult thing to do because there's something about anxiety that invites separation, and the separation causes more anxiety. So the first one is ignoring it. Try not to do that, try to engage with it. The second one is getting distant from the people that we love. So try to stay engaged with the people that we love, people who are useful for us to talk to about our anxiety. And the third thing is often what we do is we either pour a lot of not very useful energy out, or we pour a lot of not very useful energy in. And what that might look like is an awful lot of energy sitting at your desk trying to catch up on work and not actually being very productive. Or an awful lot of energy going to the gym when you don't have much energy in there in the first place. In terms of an awful lot of energy coming in, we might overeat, we might reach for a couple of glasses of wine each night, or maybe a bottle of wine each night, to just kind of dampen down some of that anxiety, which takes us back to point number one. And what tends to happen then is that we just get overtired. We tend not to sleep very well, and we tend to wake up the following morning with less energy in the tank than we had when we went to bed the previous night, and the anxiety just kicks in and we've got less resource to deal with it, particularly in light of the fact that anxiety is incredibly energy expensive to us. It's very draining to be anxious all the time. So three things there to think about. One is try not to just ignore your anxiety. That often tends to be counterproductive. Try to stay in contact with people who are useful to you around anxiety because they're loving and supportive and they don't tell you to pull yourself together and just get over it. And the third thing is find ways to look after yourself, to put energy back into the tank. Good food, early nights, plenty of water, go for a walk, go for a cup of coffee with a friend and don't have more than a couple of coffees, and and I'm going to go through so much more of this and expand on these points and what we can do constructively to deal with our anxiety in my upcoming Worried That You Worry Too Much presentation. So there's a bit of information about it in the post, and there's a link that you can click through to get your tickets for. It's coming up on the Thursday the 12th of July. I've been using it for a long time. It's really useful to people to explain what anxiety is and really signpost some useful things to do with anxiety. So I hope that's been useful for you. It's a horrible thing to live with, and if I can help reduce that for you and get you back to the energy levels and the contact and relationships and your experience of you and the world and work that you want, then I really hope that's been useful. Cheers. Have a good day.